Hey, Howie, thanks for taking the time. I think you wanted to make some opening remarks, and then we can open it up to questions.
It's been a long time since we got together, since draft weekend, and a lot has changed, obviously, with our football team, but more importantly, in the world. And when all this was going on, I thought it was my job to make sure that I was listening and learning from what was going on in the world and from our players. And after listening and learning, I feel like it's also my responsibility to say that I'm incredibly proud of our players for being against and systematic racism and supporting minorities in their fight against social injustice. And I echo a lot of what Jeffery said the other day and what Coach Peterson has said, that we support our players and we stand with them. So I just want to start out with that. Um, Tough day. Tough day is always a tough day. Tough couple of days. We started on Thursday because we didn't have a Thursday preseason game, and a lot of players on our team who either for us or other teams will go on to do good things in the NFL, and we had some tough decisions to make, and we always try to do what's best in terms of building a team as opposed to just collecting talent. And so with the 16 extra practice squad spots and the one extra spot for the international player, we felt like maybe there's some opportunities for us to put together the best 69, 70-man roster that we possibly could and go from there. So I'm here to answer some questions, to have some conversations, and I appreciate you guys taking the time on a beautiful Saturday in Philadelphia.
Let's get started with Zach Berman and then Ruben Frank. Go ahead, Zach or Rube, whoever's ready.
I can go if Zach's not ready. Hey, Howie, how are you? I hope your family's well.
Thank you, Ruben. Same to you.
Howie, how disappointing is it that Sidney Jones didn't work out? Obviously, you knew at the time with the Achilles it was a risk. Looking back now, do you think it was a good risk? And how do you look at the way that turned out?
You know, when we make these decisions, we try to make sure that we're not making decisions just based on where guys were picked. And I think that one of the things I've learned from some of the great general managers in this league is they understand when it is time to kind of move on. And I'm not just talking about that in regards to Sidney or any of the draft picks we let go today, but for us, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to take some chances. And then if we're wrong when we do those things, we got to learn from it. And we got to figure out why they didn't work and try to get better. And you see it across the league. It's hard to hit on all of your draft picks. There's no doubt about it. But I think when we look at our track record, we've got a pretty good track record in bringing in good players to Philadelphia. And they come in all sizes and shapes and forms. And by the same token, we're not going to be right every time. But we got to be right a lot more than we're wrong.
Zach, if you're ready, go ahead, and then Paul Domelich.
Hey, Howie, sorry about that. As far as left tackle, where do you guys stand with Cody Glenn? And if you have a player in your building who you believe to be a future Hall of Famer who has had that spot for as long as he has, why not just play Jason Peters at left tackle?
Well, the first part of your question with Cody, when you bring a guy in for a visit, it's kind of a 3-day total process. They got to take 2 days of tests. And so we haven't had the opportunity to sit down with him or give him a physical or work him out. He's still when we report that's just the first day of testing. So there's really nothing to report. Obviously, it's out there. I'm confirming that's the case because it's a fact. In terms of Jason Peters, the guy's been here 11 years, right? We made the trade in 2009, so 11 years. I don't know that I've ever met anyone who cares more about the team. Bleeds green, cares about protecting players on and off the field, doing whatever it takes. So, this whole conversation about Jason that I guess is out there that, he doesn't want to do this or doesn't want to do that or, there's stubbornness on one side or another. I mean, the relationship with us and him has been special, and the thing that you see when you see Jason Peters is that he can really do anything. So obviously he has played left tackle at a high level, at a Hall of Fame level. And then you watch him play right guard, and he's doing an amazing job there. And we're used to having a Pro Bowl quality player at that spot too. So, I think for us, we know that we got to look at all these options and figure out what's in the best interest of the team, and that's what we're doing right now. We're looking at all those options, and I know Jason was here this morning and on an off day, and he's excited, and we're excited. So I don't think there's a dynamic there that's at play at all. We'll see what's going on with Cody. Obviously Matt took some of those reps. He hadn't really done it a lot since last year in that final preseason game. We are excited about where Jordan Mailata's going as well. Again, we're talking about Jason Peters being a Hall of Famer. Andre Dillard was a first-round pick. So we had a situation that we were incredibly comfortable for a long time, but we're looking at all those options. We've had some time to do it. That's part of what camp's for. And we've also had an opportunity to see how great it looks when you got Kelsey, JP, and Lane next to each other. So those are all things that we're looking at as we get ready to play the season.
Go ahead, Paul, and then Dave Zingaro.
How you mentioned putting together the best 69, 70-man roster possible, which is something you haven't said in the past. You're usually just focused on 53, but this is a different year because of COVID. How much more important is that practice squad this year, and how are you going to construct it differently?
Yeah, it's hugely important. And one of the reasons we made some cuts on Thursday was because we didn't want to be in a position to be sweating out moves tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And we wanted to have some certainty about some guys that we knew either were claimed or weren't claimed. And we feel fortunate that we had an opportunity. We maybe possibly have an opportunity after 12 to bring some of those guys back. And I think you'll see more vets on the practice squad than normally you would, because we have to have those guys on the practice squad prepared and ready to play. So some of the things that we're doing here are in preparation to have maybe more ready-made guys where it's not as much developmental as it has been in the past. By the same token, I may be wrong about this because I didn't look before I came down, but I think we have 9 rookies on the 53 at this moment. When we put the 53 together, we also have to keep guys that maybe aren't going to be ready to play the first couple of weeks, and we're going to put on IR. We have to hold them for 24 hours. So the roster definitely isn't totally set. We have a couple of moves to make in that regard. And so I think for us, we're just it is different. I think that when I talk to you guys after the Seattle playoff loss, and every time I say that, it hurts my stomach to say that, but after that game, we talked about changing over the team and being a little younger, and we didn't think there was going to be a pandemic, So I think we had these best laid plans, and then we try to adjust, to do what we could to give ourselves a chance to have a great year this year as well, and knowing that we have some challenges going forward. So we're constantly trying to battle having a really good team this year and also making sure we have a really good team going forward, and that's the challenge of our job.
Go ahead, Dave, and then Tim.
Hey, Howie, when answering the first question, you stressed the importance of learning from mistakes. When you look back at the choice of Sidney, what specifically did you learn from that?
Well, I don't think it's fair to just specifically talk about Sidney. I think that what I look at is that it's hard enough to hit on draft picks, that it's when you get guys that maybe have pre-existing conditions or things that they come into the league with, you're already decreasing the odds of something. And we talk a lot about these rookies who have to come in, learn a new system, move to a new place. They're young guys. Transition already is tough enough, and the expectations that come with that. And so we try to put that all into play and make the best decisions that guys can be successful with coming to Philadelphia going forward. And so, I think for us, you want to take some chances. You want to be aggressive on talent at times, but you also have to weigh that with other factors. And I think when you talk about Sidney, he wants to be a really good player. Unfortunately, when you look at what happened this training camp, we didn't have as much opportunity to evaluate him as we would have liked to. And as we stand right now with everything that's going on in the world, it's hard for us in that position to make a decision and to keep a guy like that right now. That doesn't mean that he can't be a good player going forward. That doesn't mean he won't be a good player going forward. That doesn't mean that, we'd ever rule out bringing him back. But I think right now we have to make decisions that maybe are a little different than if we were in an ideal world that obviously none of us, as we can see with this format, are living in.
Go ahead, Tim, and then Jeff McLean.
I mean, I have to say, Brett, like I actually kind of miss being in front of these guys in the auditorium. Like I don't hold that against me when I don't feel that way next year when I see you guys. But this is kind of strange. It's kind of strange.
Never thought you'd be saying that, did you?
No, never. Takes a pandemic, global pandemic.
Howie, you had mentioned that one of the priorities this offseason was getting faster. I mean, was the decision to release Rasul kind of a factor of, you know, where you guys are going philosophically does not match the player?
I don't even see you, Tim. Where are you?
Let me get my video up here. I got kids running in and out, so you just never know.
Never know. That's okay. That's part of the new world. It wouldn't be. You should see what all your colleagues here got going on, man. I got people shushing people. It's crazy. You know, I think for us with Rasul, when we look at that corner group, you know, Craig James is a guy that obviously did a really nice job for us on special teams, and he was a guy that we every week during training camp, we kind of said as a staff, talking with our coaches, let's give him opportunities against better players. Let's give him an opportunity against better competition. And he rose to the occasion. You know, he's super competitive. He's got explosiveness in his body, speed and twitch. You know, we brought in Nickel Roby Coleman, Slay. Avante's a guy that I'm sure is no secret that we have a lot of confidence in. Cravon's a guy that he's played in big games for us. He's another guy, super competitive, somebody that, you know, has really risen to the occasion. And so I don't know that it's necessarily this speed driven that Rasul is not on the 53. I think it was a hard decision for us. I told him that when I met with him today. Because there are things that he does well, but I think that, you know, we'd kind of change the complexion a little bit of that corner group. And again, he's another guy that we wouldn't rule out bringing back if the opportunity arose.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Bo.
Howie, what went into the decision to activate Alshon Jeffery to the 53-man roster? And I guess that means you envision him returning soon.
Again, Jeff, like I'd like to see who's answered questions. We don't got you either on this video.
You don't need to see me, man.
That's probably true, to be honest. So the Alshon, the decision to activate Alshon is because we feel like if you kept him on PUP, that would mean basically he wouldn't be ready till the 7th game. We think he's going to be ready before that. He thinks he's going to be ready before that. And we think he's a good player. And so we want to get him back as quickly as possible to help this football team. Obviously, with these new rules, there's some ways you can get guys up off the practice squad for game day, which is new for us. So he'll be inactive till then, working towards it. And, you know, Alshon's come back with incredible energy. He's in great shape. He's motivated to win and be part of it. You know, we are not actively shopping him, Jeff, as reported. But I think for us, you know, it's let's get the good player back as soon as possible. And I'm not telling you that he's ready for week 1, but we definitely anticipate him being ready before that PUP period. Did you ask another question, or was just the Alshon PUP?
No, that was it.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Bo, and then Jimmy.
Hey, Howie, we talked during the draft about the emphasis on speed and sort of traits at the back end of the draft. It seemed like that was a bit of a philosophical shift. Coupling that with more volume in this draft, you know, you said 9 rookies, all draft picks versus 5 picks in each of the past couple of drafts. Do you think that seems to be playing out well? And what do you think of this rookie class so far?
You know, obviously they haven't played a game, so I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves on this rookie class, but very excited about this rookie class. And hopefully, you know, going forward, we'll have a lot more volume in our picks and more young players to balance out, you know, what's going on. Going back to March, certainly when the CBA was extended, didn't anticipate that we'd be talking about probably, you know, a diminished cap next year. So we got to adjust to that, and we got to adjust to that and continue to try to compete at a high level. And so part of that is having young players play. Obviously disappointed for Jalen that he probably doesn't get an opportunity to play right now, but also glad that it could have been a lot worse, and that we're not talking about anything that won't get him back on the field here in 2020. And he looks the part. Our second round pick too. I think you see the skill set with him and the traits that he has. Our third round pick, when we picked him, we knew maybe that was a guy who had incredible traits, and maybe him with not an off season at linebacker, maybe a tougher spot, but we see it. You see it when he's got to plant his foot and explode to the ball. He's got some unique traits there too, and I think he'll get better and better. Kayvon is kind of what we thought he was. Driscoll kept getting better and better, so we're excited about him. We've been used to having a role like Big V, and making sure that we have a guy who's like that, who can play a variety of spots. And I think when you looked at the receivers, I think all of us, those are things that are easy to see when you're out there at practice every day. You see the explosiveness, you see the speed in those guys, and then Casey. I don't know if I missed a rookie there. Obviously we let Prince go here, and then Casey. I think when camp opened, Casey was probably fighting an uphill battle, and we had a chance as a staff to kind of watch all those defensive ends together and watch all their reps kind of like one after the other, like we would do if we were scouting other teams. And I think the thing that stands out with Casey is he's got the tools in his body, he's got the explosiveness in his body, and he's got a relentless motor. And happy for that kid that he's got an opportunity to be on the 53.
Go ahead, Jimmy, and then Chris Franklin.
Hey, Howie. You mentioned using the short-term IR. Can you say which players are going to be on that? Rager, Parks, anyone? A little hint?
You at least have one of them. How about that for a little hint? But I think we want to communicate with the players. We're going to get through this 53-man. It's important to us that we tell the players before we do anything. We haven't really communicated with the players exactly what's going on, which players which, because we wanted to get through this and kind of think through some of those things. And some of those decisions were made kind of here in the last few hours. So we'll get you guys that as soon as we can tomorrow. Jimmy, for that rule, not only do you have to carry the player through the 53, but you can't switch them out with a claim player too. How fun that would be if you could, that you could just kind of switch them out. So you got to hold them through the initial claim tonight for all you guys. Just, I'm sure you guys know that. I'm just, sometimes I got to refresh myself on some of these rules. So you got to carry the guy through the 53, and then you can't then switch him out for a guy on the cuts tonight. So you got to keep him till 4 o'clock tomorrow.
Go ahead, Chris, and then EJ Smith.
Hey, Howie. Given the team's current draft, the salary cap situation for 2021, if there was a player who could significantly help the team this season, how do you balance that against the cap situation? And do you feel as if would the team actually do that instead of rolling over some of that cap space? And would it impact them that much?
I don't think we're in the position to take on a lot of money anymore. I think we need that cap space to roll over to make sure that we're in position to keep the balance of the team together in 2021. It's just the reality of the situation, the world we're living in. We had prepared once the CBA was extended, thinking that even if there was just normal growth in the cap, that we would be in a really good spot. And then this pandemic hit. And so we'll just deal with it. There's no excuses. We'll have to deal with it. And that's our job. And we have spent so much time already preparing for it that I think we will be able to. But I think you guys know me well enough. That's hard when there's opportunities for, me to sit with my hands tied and us to sit with our hands tied. But that's just the reality of the situation that we're in, unfortunately, right now. And hopefully it's short term, and we got a bunch of young players on this team who will step up, as well as a lot of veteran players who we're going to count on.
EJ and then Elliot.
Hey, Howie. A couple of months ago, Malik Jackson said that you called him after the Hargrave signing and explained that, the defensive line was what helped the 49ers reach the Super Bowl. Could you tell us any more about that call and the philosophy that goes into that thinking?
Yeah, I think I told him that the defensive line was one of the main reasons that we won the Super Bowl too. So I want to give credit to our players as well. And, that's always our goal is to be really strong up front. Listen, it's no secret that we've lost 2 of our 5 starting offensive linemen already. And, that's not kind of how we try to build this team. We try to build this team being really strong up front, and it just shows the importance of having quality depth on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And so we believe in Malik a lot, and I think that he was a huge loss for us last year. He was a big part of our offseason in 2019, and I just wanted him to understand that at that time where we were, Hargrave was a player that we had a really high grade on at an important position, and it was because of our belief in the line. It wasn't because we didn't believe in Malik, because we believe in Malik. And I think Malik's come in with an incredible attitude. You see every day at practice that he's made a difference. And I know I saw his comment where he said, he's got a chip on his shoulder. And I love guys with chips on their shoulder, and he's got a lot to prove. And I can't wait to see him play and our defensive line play. I'm really excited about that, and hopefully we get some of those guys back to make that defensive line even stronger, and that'll be the engine that really runs our defense.
Elliot, and then Nick Fierro.
Hey, Howie. When Brandon Brooks suffered the injury, it looked like he was going to miss the entire season. You guys placed him on PUP. He hasn't been put on IR. Do you expect him to play at some point this year?
So, Elliot, he was put on PUP because he got injured before training camp. So that's just a procedural thing for that. When a guy's injured before training camp, you put him on the physically unable to perform list. And basically that gives him the opportunity to come back. And I'd say this about Brandon. I won't put anything past that guy. I mean, that guy, everything he does is, like, special. And so, at the same time, don't want to put any extra pressure on him. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But we got a long time before that's even an option. But I know nobody's going to work harder. Nobody's going to be more determined. And so we'll just have to wait and see. But that's kind of why that move was made. And it's the same thing, like Alshon was an injury from last year. So it's you don't have the option, like, to take a guy from physically unable to perform. You have to either activate him, and then you can't put him on IR after that because there's no new injury. It's an old injury. So, it's just the way the rules are.
Nick, and then Ed Kratz.
Hi, Howie. One of the things that kind of jumped out to me was the number of safeties being kept. 6 guys. You have Epps and Ford. Does that really kind of indicate the importance of special teams, or does that have something to do with Will Parks' injury as well?
I think both those things and a third thing. So one, obviously Will's hurt, and so that's something that we factored into play, and the skill sets of all those guys. And Marcus was a guy who we felt like took a big jump. And you can see his athleticism, his range. He kind of balances some of the other safeties, their skill set as well. And we were really excited about him, even, though he missed a little bit of time. But he's got a really good skill set. And we saw that last year when we claimed him. And then we feel like he took a jump from year 1 to year 2. So we're excited about him. When you talk about Rudy, Rudy shows up on special teams. I think for him, it's important that we get a little bit more production out of that talent too, and I think Coach Phipp has a lot of confidence in that, and we have a lot of confidence in Coach Phipp to get that. I think one day of practice, we had him running 23 miles an hour, which is just insane. And one day over the summer, I was watching our Green Bay game on NFL Network just in the background, and you see when him and Craig are covering punts, it's hard for the punt returner to get going, and we haven't had any live special teams drills. So for us, special teams are going to be a big unknown as we get started here. And we've been in games since I've been here where those first couple of games, we've maybe lost a game because of special teams. And so we wanted to protect that. And so that's a big reason that Rudy's on the team, and he's got that responsibility. And then the rest of the safeties, I think we kind of understand, right? Those are the 3 guys you were asking about, Nick, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm sorry?
Go ahead, Ed, and then Mike K.
Oh, hey, Howie. Just looking at that 2017 draft class, when you self-evaluate, that draft, there's 2 members of it left. What kind of were maybe some of the mistakes that were made in having some of those guys wash out as quickly as they did?
Yeah, it's disappointing. I take all of that personally, and I think that you want more guys from your draft class to be successful, and I think unfortunately we had to learn from that draft class, and we've gone over some of those guys and what happened there, and did we force some things? Did we do some things that were kind of contrary to our plan going in because we missed out on some things? Those are all the questions we ask. We don't sit there and just say, hey, these guys didn't do a good job. We're just washing over it. And but I do think that when we look back at the last few years' draft classes overall, and they're pretty good. There are a lot of guys playing for us, and we've done a good job on our free agency. And I think overall, our scouting staff, our personnel staff, our front office staff, I'm proud of them and the job that we've done overall. But that doesn't mean that we haven't made mistakes and then we can't do a better job.
Mike Tay and then John McMullen.
Hey, Howie, thanks for doing this. The numbers at running back, tight end, and offensive line, are those kind of based on the availability of moving the practice squad players up and knowing that you can have an extra offensive lineman up on game days and all that stuff? Or is that something, are those positions that you really want to kind of like look at over the next couple of days and kind of figure out the market on?
I think it's part of both. I think one, we've never been this low on the offensive line, just in terms of the active roster. By the same token, when we look at the offensive line and running back in particular, that's why we made some of those cuts on Thursday to kind of get a head start and to know those guys were either claimed or not, and that they would be available for us. And having these 2 extra moves each week, it does gives us different flexibility than we've had in the past. But I would say that the roster as it is today, there definitely will be changes in the next 24 or 36 hours just based on the IR rules to begin with. And I don't know that we're necessarily exactly where we want to be even on the 53. But knowing that we have these extra practice squad spots and we have the ability to bring guys up gives us a little bit different flexibility. But by the same token, I think we're not done yet. And where we are at this moment, I think probably looks a little bit different as we get going here and, probably for our game next Sunday.
All right, we have time for a couple more. So just getting everybody who had at least one question in here. John McMullen, Martin Frank, and then Jeff Skaversky.
Hey, Howie. You just mentioned some of the rules, the expanded practice squad, injured reserve rules, obviously no preseason games. When you look back on this whole process for you, how much have things changed from a normal year as when you cobble this down to 53, or has it changed that much?
It's dramatically different. It's been a dramatically different training camp. For us, there's so much preseason tape to watch, and to not have that has given us extra time to really dive into our team and to dive into our team like we're bystanders as opposed to the guys who are just right next to it. I think that's really helped us because we have to evaluate our own team first and foremost. At the same time, it's a little bit of a game of chicken, because some of these guys that are cut and we don't know them as well as maybe we would by having some exposure to them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with claims as opposed to in years past and what people are doing, because it's not like you can claim a guy and get him on a plane and he's in your building on Monday. So you really have to weigh all those things as you're going forward about what's going to happen if you switch out a guy, how long it will take that guy to be here, when will he be ready, and things that we've never really had to deal with. And it's okay. We'll adjust. There are a lot of people dealing with a lot of worse things than trying to put their football team together, and we understand that. And it will be something that we remember for a long time in this business.
Go ahead, Martin, and then Jeff.
Hey, Howie. The other day, Jim Schwartz was saying how important, versatility was in the secondary. I mean, he mentioned like Darius Slay possibly, moving into the slot position, to follow the other team's best receivers. When you guys were making your decisions on the 53-man roster, how important was having guys who could like move inside and outside, to that process?
Well, I think it's probably more important for the backups than it is the starters. You want your starters to specialize in something, and to be really good at something. But obviously, when you talk about your roster and having versatile backups who can do a bunch of things, and in your secondary, having versatile guys who can do things, safeties who can come down and cover tight ends and cover slot receivers and corners who can match up and play inside and outside. I think that's huge to Coach Schwartz and what he's trying to do defensively.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Howie, you guys obviously overhauled your entire roster. When you look at this team right now as you stand today, 8 days away from the opener, do you think this team can compete for a championship? I mean, do you feel like this is a really special group that you guys have when you start the season in Washington?
Yeah, the stuff for us, Jeff, that's the unknown is how the team comes together, how the team deals with adversity, because we will have adversity at some point in the season. And I think those are the things that you learn when we start getting into games. This has been a unique training camp. This has been different in the fact that the team is usually together a lot more, and we're not alone in this. There's 31 other teams like this as well. And so I think what makes a team special is that the team chemistry and the team coming together to become one, and that doesn't happen overnight. And so, we got to see how that comes together over the course of the year. I think that we have enough talent to be a really good team, and we have really good people on our coaching staff to help that happen. And then we'll just have to see how this season goes and how we deal with adversity and what goes on in this unique year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Howie. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe. Look forward to seeing you guys sometime soon.